Welcome to Conversations Different, a podcast from the Santa Fe New Mexican. This week, we are talking to Mike Anderer, Chief Administrative Officer with Urban Alchemy. That's the nonprofit running the former Interfaith Community Shelter, as well as conducting outreach on the streets where people live. Welcome, Mike. So, how was the first few days at the shelter?
Thank you for the welcome, Inez. It was really great to be here. The first few days were exciting and thrilling for our team, and lots of good work as well. Lots of cleaning, lots of kind of conversations with guests, and explaining, the things that are going to remain, everything that's going to remain the same, and a few of the things that are going to be changing.
Good, good. It's always an interesting transition when you go from one operator to the other, and the only constant, perhaps, are the people who are going to be using the services.
That's right. Yeah, it's something that Urban Alchemy has experienced before in a couple of other locations, and so we understand, that everyone has lots of feelings about a transition like this. The guests and clients have feelings. The provider has feelings. The general public has feelings. So we kind of welcome and try to kind of be a filter for all of that comes through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So before we started on live, we were talking about the deep cleaning that Urban Alchemy did. And during the deep cleaning, I guess you said they discovered their bed bugs. So right now the shelter is basically, I guess, being fumigated or whatever one does for bed bugs. So talk about what's happening and what will happen when it reopens in a couple of days.
Absolutely. So we planned a deep cleaning about 1:15 last Thursday, July 31st. We took over kind of site responsibility at what is now Agape House and planned a deep cleaning. Within a few hours, we realized that there was a pretty serious bed bug infestation that needed some greater remediation. We reached out to the city and we made plans. We talked to the guests immediately that afternoon to notify them. Of course, they were already aware that there were bed bugs there, so they were glad that we were trying to do something about it. So this morning we initiated a plan where today is going to be a kind of a fumigation day. Tomorrow is going to be a kind of a duct cleaning day and a painting day. We'll finish the painting on Wednesday, and then the facility on Cerrillos will reopen on Wednesday evening. In the meantime, what guests are going to be able to do is we're going to keep the parking lot open in front of Agape House, where we're going to continue to provide food and water and shelter. We got some portable bathrooms outside there. And the city identified a location at Pier 21 on 1000 Cordova, and there is going to be a bus that transports guests from Agape House to Warehouse 21 in the evening. Guests will overnight there and then be bused back to Agape House Tuesday and Wednesday mornings, and where they'll continue to receive, food and water and all that kind of stuff. And all this has been communicated to guests, and they've been very gracious with the transitions. It hasn't been without its hiccups and unexpected things like this, temporary shutdown. But they've been really gracious in this whole experience, and are very grateful for our efforts here.
Oh, good, good. So when you reopen, you talked about a few things that are different, a few things that are the same. Now, one of the differences is that people are going to be able to come in and out during the day. It's not going to be just overnight, and then unless there's day services, you can't come in. Is that something that's different?
Yeah, so one of the many things are going to remain the same, including a lot of the local partnerships, a lot of the providing meals for guests, being able to overnight there. What is changing is that we're really going to remain open 24/7. The entry point for Agape House is really going to be at the gate to the parking lot. And so that's really where our kind of the care of our services really is going to begin. So that whole space will be part of what we'll be able to serve. So there'll be a more fluid boundary between inside and outside. We'll still use that side door that everybody knows that guests will come in and out of. So it'll be 24/7. We'll also be more inclined to really enroll guests to essentially assign a more permanent bed, so there's less change from day to day, and they can keep a few things at their bed during the daytime, as well as we're trying to kind of increase and reorganize how storage of personal items is done. So we're working on that. All of our transition to with our services and what we're able to provide has been delayed a little bit because of the cleaning that we're doing. But we're confident that within about a week or two, there's really going to be people are really going to be able to start settle in. We'll have more of a routine. It's been difficult to get into a routine because of the cleaning that's taking place.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was wondering about, is because right now, the longtime guests get a bin and they're assigned their bin and they know where their stuff is and they go get it. And I was wondering how you went from interfaith people being in charge of the bin and now Urban Alchemy is. So that's still going to kind of be the same, but maybe it's stored differently. Is that how it's going to work?
That's right. Guests will still have bins. We may change the location. We're still figuring out what the right plan is for that.
Right.
One of the things that is also changing is we're really going to transform the parking lot space, and some folks may have already read about this in the newspaper, but we're going to transform the parking lot into what we call an oasis to create more spaces where guests can relax there, to create some more space where pets can also kind of have a place to hang out. And just a couple of parking spots. Primarily, our staff we've already identified another location for our staff to park. Same thing with volunteers. We'll be identifying another location for other visitors and volunteers where they can park when they come.
Okay, and that's a great word that leapt out at me, volunteers, because Pete's was known for having, people who work the doors, fed the guests, all the different things that volunteers did. So are there going to be volunteer opportunities at Agape House?
Yeah, this is a big question in the community, and so let me see if I can kind of walk you through Urban Alchemy's philosophy and direction that we're going to go in. So the short answer to the question, does Urban Alchemy accept volunteers? The short answer is yes. The longer answer is this. The focus of Urban Alchemy and our mission is really on the client experience.
Okay.
So that includes, so if you imagine where you sleep every night is your home. And there is a desire for all of us to have some kind of privacy. We want some agency over the space that we're in. So we're gonna be trying to give more and more agency to our guests and a sense of privacy in their space. So we
Right.
want it's their home. So so that's the priority for us. The priority for us, as opposed to having the volunteer experience be the priority, we don't want to just provide a great experience for volunteers. Our priority is to first give a great experience for the guests. And so what that means is for Urban Alchemy is we want to create the conditions to maximize the ability of our guests and our employees to transform themselves. And what that experience is to provide basic needs, which we will do, to provide what we call a care coordinator to walk alongside with them, to dialogue with them, to
Hmm.
really flood them with a lot of respect and compassion from all of our employees, and to watch over time as the sense of safety and kind of relaxation sets in where they don't have to worry about where their next meal is going to come from. They know where they're going to sleep that night. They know where their stuff is. They know that they're in a clean environment. That all of a sudden things start to open up, and guests start, asking about different types of opportunities and services. So that's what's important to us, um, and that's our priority. Urban Alchemy. The other thing I would say is we're not a typical nonprofit,
Hmm.
in the sense that we're not a charity, so to speak. We accept donations. We actually need donations, but we're really also a nonprofit social enterprise. And we partner with our city and county and state contract partners to do work that they need to get done, that cities and counties and states should be responsible for, to get work done. And so we're seeking, and then we utilize the lived experience of our employees, both formerly incarcerated men and women, as well as formerly addicted and formerly homeless men and women. We use that lived experience and the social and emotional intelligence that comes from that lived experience to continue their own journeys of transformation, and then pass it forward to the guests that we work with. That
Okay.
they just bring an extraordinary amount of empathy to that.
All
So
right.
so that's to say, yes, we take volunteers, and we are also doing all these other things. So it's going to look and feel different than than how the shelter was operated and what the volunteer experience was uh, under the previous provider.
All right. And on that note, we'll take a quick break and be back in a moment with more Conversations Different.
Experience the beauty of Santa Fe living at the 2025 Haciendas, a Parade of Homes. August 8th through 10th and 15th through 17th, tour stunning new homes built with quality craftsmanship and Santa Fe style. Presented by the Santa Fe Area Home Builders Association, this parade highlights the best in responsible construction and home ownership in northern New Mexico. Plan your visit at santafeparadeofhomes.com.
We're back with Conversations Different, talking to Mike Anderer of Urban Alchemy. Before we took a break, we were discussing how there will be opportunity for some volunteers, and I'm wondering what that might look like. I know before there were volunteers serving food, there were check-in people. That was my job on Saturday nights, as I was the check-in person for a number of years. What will people be able to do, and what kind of help do you need in these early days when you're getting set up?
So I will say that, and if there are any groups or individuals who are interested in volunteering, I'm really the first initial point of contact, and hopefully you'll be able to share my contact information here at some point. Um, that sounds great. So I'd be the first point of contact. I've already had several meetings with lots of the volunteer groups that have done things. We've accepted. There are several groups that are continuing to donate, prepare meals offsite, and are dropping them off. I've talked to folks who've led meditation. I've talked to the artists who've done art workshops. So those things are all continuing. In terms of individual volunteers, checking people in, kind of live serving food, that's going to be something that we're going to have to see after we get through this initial transition. Our typical practice is for our employees to be doing things like checking folks in. Again, this kind of goes into the change in how the facility is run a little bit. It's not going to be check-in like it was before. It's like the guests will know who the guests are, and there will be an in and out. But but it's not like checking in for the night and then leaving in the morning in the same way. You know what I mean? So, and
How
we'll,
one of the things I was wondering, how do you know your bed count and stuff if you don't have that initial check-in? How will that work? And because people are coming in and out so much, uh, will you be worried about contraband or drugs or, any of that kind of thing? So just walk us through that part.
yeah. So what we typically do is we have what we call a participant agreement with community guidelines, and most shelters have something like that. And guests will sign that. And when we assign someone a bed, and it also talks about what you can and can't bring into the facility and what you can and can't do in the facility, and all that is kind of part of that agreement. And so that'll still happen. And when someone says that they're interested in being assigned a more permanent bed, what that means is they will be given the grace if they don't show up for a particular period of time, usually it's 72 hours, then they give up the rights to that bed.
But they have an opportunity for one night. Maybe they're sick or they're at a friend's house. They don't lose it. They still have their home.
That's correct. And
Nice.
sometimes somebody, checks into the hospital or something else happens and they don't show up. And it gives the opportunity, it will give the opportunity. There are some guests at Agape House who I've already met who work,
Right.
and it opens up the opportunity for someone who might work a swing or an overnight shift to actually work that overnight shift and then be able to come back and have a place where they can rest during the day.
Yeah, that's true. No, there's really a surprising number of people who go to the shelter that work, and I think the idea that everyone is out on the streets all day is one of those myths. It's not exactly true. So
That's true.
that's very helpful. So how many people will be there? Because on a typical Saturday night, there would be someone in the kitchen, there'd be someone at the door, sometimes there would be someone at the closet, and then there was usually volunteers doing different things that they needed us to do. So what will a typical night look like now in terms of how many employees you guys are going to have?
So some of that is being shuffled out. Typically what will be the kind of shift deployment inside the shelter is what we call a 3-1, three practitioners and a supervisor. In addition to that, we have our love teams, which are outreach teams. Our outreach teams are responsible for the parking lot in the Oasis, as well as doing outreach in the immediate area. And that's an additional 3 staff with one supervisor.
Will the outreach be run under the outreach contract as opposed to the contract to run the shelter? Because just thinking of staffing in the past and the amount of money it costs to run the interfaith shelter, I can already see the employment costs are going to be, because you guys, I think, pay a little bit more too. So how will that work in terms of who's paying for what?
Yeah, so the Oasis, so Urban Alchemy, I haven't talked too much about Urban Alchemy in general, but
Right.
Urban Alchemy's mission is to transform people and places through respect and compassion, and to heal communities at the intersection of extreme poverty, addiction, mental illness, and homelessness.
Okay.
We really do 3 different kinds of things. We call it house communities, which is doing something like Agape House, running a shelter. Safe communities, which is really partially part of the love team, but also we have another service liner called the heart team that does essentially those 2 teams do proactive engagement as well as kind of response to requests for service from businesses, members of the public, business associations, even city departments or even law enforcement. So the
Okay.
love team is primarily proactive engagement. So we anticipate 80% of their work will be proactive engagement. 20% might be requests, calls that we might get for services from somewhere, or requests we might get from someone to come visit somebody somewhere. A third service line that we have, or a third kind of chunk, is called connected communities. And
Okay.
the Oasis is one of the tools in that toolbox. And sometimes we do it at a parking lot at a shelter, but it doesn't have to be at a parking lot. Essentially, 100% of the public doesn't really like visible homelessness. And so, but the problem is, if you walk up to somebody and say, this business or this, there's a lot of kids around here, or we're in a neighborhood, or you can't sit in this doorway of this business, can you please move?
Yeah.
Well, where are they supposed to go?
That's right. That's right.
So the Oasis is designed as a place where that's comfortable, where people are going to be able to go and have refreshments, have water. The teams will be engaging there. They'll be able to get connected to services if they want that. And so it's part of to kind of increase connection. And that kind of, I want to kind of say something about that. I just want to say that the community of guests at Agape House, what was formerly Pete's Place, they are a community. They all know each other. They're friends, and they're a very tight-knit community. And so giving them some more space that they feel like is theirs again will again create this sense of agency. It's like, oh, I can figure things out, and this is good. And a cared for space communicates caring.
Yeah.
And so that's really what we're trying to do in our efforts in these initial 6 weeks.
Okay, that's a great place to take a break. We'll be back in a moment with more Conversations Different.
We make renewable doable. We're positive energy solar for a cleaner, brighter future for all. Positive energy's the right call. Feel good about your energy bill. Help save the planet too. Your trusted solar company, working hard for you. Generate positive energy. Positive energy solar.
We are back with Conversations Different, talking to Mike from Urban Alchemy. Let's go back to the idea of oases. I know that you said there's now going to be one in the parking lot at Pete's, which gives people, I think, really a nice stability for the day. You don't have to get up at 7:00, get on the city bus to stay warm, and then at 10, when the library opens, go sit down there. You can just kind of stay put and rest if that's what you feel like doing. Where are the other oases going to be located in town?
So right now, the city is working with their other partners, businesses, and residents and associations in the city to identify where that location is exactly going to be. It has not been identified or confirmed yet, but it is going to be closer to the downtown area. It's not going to be here down on the west side.
That'll
Or
be
on the far west side,
No,
as far
that
as I
makes
know.
sense. Okay, so people will have a place to take a break, and especially considering the heat of the summers, get refreshments and water. And then in the winter, it might look differently. There might be like those little portable stoves to stay warm or whatever, hot chocolate, whatever you guys offer.
That's right.
Yeah,
Exactly. You
yeah.
got it.
And they'll have restrooms, which is huge, because one of the things we learned during COVID is that there are not enough open public restrooms in Santa Fe, or probably most towns. So people were really out of luck.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I think one of the when you talk about dignity when you're unhoused, not having a place to stay clean and take care of personal hygiene is just like the most humiliating thing.
It absolutely 100% is. And so we're exploring options to be, as everybody knows, there are 4 showers inside the
Yep.
building at Agape House. And we love to make those more accessible. We love to increase, of course, Interfaith Shelter is continuing their mobile shower program as
Right.
well. So that's still going to continue. So yeah, all of this is all very important stuff.
Yeah, no, that's good. Talk about your other mission. Of course, I like the way you refer the company refers to returning citizens, which is a reference to hiring previously incarcerated people, which gives them enough opportunity, as you said, to transform. How was the hiring process? Do you have enough people? Were you able to find workers?
Um, Well, first, I want to give a big shout out to the Department of Workforce Solutions and America's Job Center, who's kind of been our host since the beginning of July. They've offered space for us to office out of. We've done all of our new employee orientations out of that site until this week. It's the place where our teams met in the morning before they launched on their on-the-job training over the past few weeks. So I'm happy to say that we are now, there's a kind of a fifth group this week going through new employee orientation, and we're now having hired over 40 people, local individuals. 2 senior leaders moved to Santa Fe from Urban Alchemy. I'm one of them. Roberto Gonzalez is the second one. He's the director of operations. Everyone else is a local hire. And we really prioritize, as I said, formerly incarcerated men and women, formerly homeless, formerly addictive, who are in recovery. We prioritize those, and we value the lived experience that comes with those experiences. And it's a place where folks are able to continue to transform themselves. We're delighted with the people who've kind of come forward.
How many of the former employees at the Interfaith Shelter were able to stay with you guys? Because I know that was a community concern, is that people were going to lose their jobs.
So we didn't have too many people from Interfaith Shelter apply for jobs.
Mhm.
We've had a couple of more in the past few days who have applied for jobs. There are at least 2 people that wanted to finish out their commitment to Interfaith Shelter before doing their on-the-job training with us. So
Okay.
we're looking to reconnect with them this week to see what their status might be.
So are there any on staff now at Urban Alchemy, or that's in the process?
As of the end of last week, there were 2 people who were technically active employees with us, but they
Okay.
kind of paused their on-the-job training while they finished their commitment
Okay.
at Interfaith Shelters, and we need to circle back with them. And then the other folks who applied last week, they're running through the kind of recruitment and hiring process right now.
Okay. Because I know that was one of the concerns from the people who spoke at the city council meetings is, in addition to having where your bed's going to be, et cetera, uh, knowing the people who check you in, because, some of the door check people had been there, not forever, but, several years, and they knew every single guest really, really well. So now you have to go meet new people. So I don't know how that process is working in terms of getting to know the new employees. How have you seen that work?
Well, I'm really happy to say that there's more than a handful of the employees that we hired who really come from these communities at the intersection of poverty and addiction and homelessness and addiction. And they're on the recovery from that. So we have several, more than a handful that already know many of the people already.
Oh, good. So there's a nice, comfortable
It is.
relationship. Yeah.
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 It's been very smooth.
Now, going back, I think that the idea about getting your same bed is really exciting, because I know one of the things that was very important when people checked in is they wanted to sleep in the same place where they slept the night before, which if you got there in time, it was possible. If you didn't get there in time, it was possible. I mean, sometimes it was as basic as they wanted to be near the plug so they could charge their phone.
Right.
And, just really simple things like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
But again, how you can't check them every time. If the space is now the parking lot, there was a big emphasis because some of this is a low barrier shelter, and obviously, the addiction is real. Some of them, I remember checking in. Someone I knew was a convicted murderer who I hadn't seen out of jail in a couple of years. These are people who have lived rough, are rough sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Next to, some very fragile elderly people. I think a lot of them are gone now.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to control the contraband? I'm just.
So I don't think that there is a simple answer to that. What I can say is that Urban Alchemy really focuses on creating a safe environment where people feel comfortable. Anything that makes people uncomfortable, we negotiate with individuals and kind of invite them to be better human beings. And our experience is when approached with compassion and empathy and understanding, folks respond to that. They may not respond to it the first time, but they eventually respond to it. And I'm also would say that because of the lived experience of our employees, including long-term incarceration, it comes with an ability to empathize and have some identification with just about everybody, whether they're what we call a street vendor, or whether or not they might be, an intravenous drug user, or addicted to, addicted to alcohol, just down and out. Um, our employee base, we've all been there, and at the end of the day, we're built on the fact that all of us are broken. And, as I think it was Lila Watson who shared this at a UN conference, 40 years ago from a group of Indigenous folks in Australia that she worked with. It's like, if you've come to help me, no thank you. But
Yeah.
if you've come because your liberation is wrapped up in my liberation, you're most welcome. So that's really what our employees like. I know that my own kind of liberation is wrapped up in the service and the compassion and empathy that I provide walking alongside everyone else.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it's I think it's hard to be comfortable in a town, and I love Santa Fe. I would not live anywhere else, but I feel very guilty as a citizen of Santa Fe when I see old people with walkers having to live at a homeless shelter. And it just seems to me that that should not be in this country. And one of the things I hope you guys are part of the planning for better solutions is we have an emergency shelter, but there's no place for people to go, or there are few places for people to go. So what good does it do if you don't have a home on the other end of it once you can transform your life?
I agree with you 100%. Some of what happens in Santa Fe and in many of our cities across the country is really, it's unconscionable. And Urban Alchemy measures our success by our ability to get people into permanent housing, but that success isn't 100% dependent on what we're able to do. It depends
Exactly.
on what's available in the environment. So
Yep.
we're working closely with city and everyone who's willing to talk to us to try to see if we can create more opportunities to get people permanently housed.
Yeah.
We'll do whatever it takes.
Are people going to be sleeping in the parking lot? Is that a possibility?
So over these next couple of days, while there's this emergency shelter with essentially at the direction of the city,
Mhm.
we've let people know that they can overnight in the parking lot for tonight, Monday, and Tuesday night. And then after that we're not going to allow people to overnight in the parking lot.
Okay.
So the gate will close at a particular hour, and that will be a moving target in this transition time as people adjust to the kind of new way that the new protocols that we have.
Mhm.
But the gate will be closed. There will always be someone at the gate to the parking lot, but people will have to either be assigned to a bed inside or
Exit.
or exit.
Now, part of the issue with the shelter's operations previously was, of course, Harrison Road. And you guys aren't police officers, and honestly, you shouldn't risk your lives dealing with really dangerous people either. So how do you keep that clear? And what's going to happen with that?
So anybody who's driven up Harrison Road over the past few days may have already noticed a difference. Essentially, we ask people to be better and ask people to not sit and hang out on Harrison Road. Of course, they do some times of the day and different times of the day, but we invite them in, and we invite them into the Oasis to kind of be there. We also understand there's a lot going on right there, and we're in the process of negotiating and dealing with that. And there's still a lot going on. I could just tell you that we were involved in our teams reversed 3 overdoses overnight last night.
Yep.
Not at the shelter, but in the surrounding area outside of the gates, where guests came running to us and asked for our assistance to help.
Yep.
So that's still happening, and so we'll see. It'll be a slow transformation process, but Urban Alchemy and myself and Robert and the whole team, we're committed to do everything within our power to make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was common even just on a regular Saturday night. It's crazy. So under the old protocols, people who, let's say, assaulted a staff member, who were doing fentanyl in the bathroom, would get kicked out for a number of days. So are those do not allow on the properties? Are they back, or are they still excluded, or how's that going to work?
They'll have another opportunity.
Okay.
They'll kind of start with a clean slate, but it will be part of the participant agreement that no violence, no threats of violence, no drug use on site.
Okay.
So those are just, and so it'll be a process as everyone kind of readjusts and we get to know people, and we'll give, like, here's your warning, and but those are all part of the participant and community agreement.
So part of this change is that there's really a chance for a fresh start for a lot of people if they choose to take it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
What has surprised you as you do this, if anything?
Well, one of the things that surprised me, and I said this last week as well, is really just the number of people that I have met and that I hear that over the past 15 years have volunteered at Pete's Place. It feels to me like just about everyone in the city of a particular, constituent group or, income level, I'm not sure what it is, has volunteered there. That's literally thousands and thousands of people. And so everyone feels like it's their place. And so while in some ways it's surprising, I really think it's a resource. And I really look forward, and Urban Alchemy really looks forward to slowly getting to know all of you, to settling into this community, to becoming part of the community, and really appreciate all of the goodwill and generosity that we've already received from so many people.
Oh, that's good to know, because it was the transition in terms of how the contract was issued was not exactly pleasant. But the one thing about Santa Fe is that once the decision's made, they're going to make it work as much as they can. And there's a lot of goodwill towards Interfaith because it was founded to stop people from freezing to death. Basically, because there was that year where I don't know how many, half a dozen or more people died in the streets, and they said no more. And that actually, in terms of that as a goal, that has worked. We don't
That's
have
right.
very, but there's bigger goals now to have, which is get them to permanent housing and, have less just unhoused people on the streets, more for them than for the neighbors, because it's not comfortable sleeping under a park bench.
That's right.
Yeah. It's good. What would you tell people what's your email if someone wants to volunteer? How do they get a hold of you?
Great question. So my email address is mikeA@urban-alchemy.us.
Okay. All right. And we'll put that in our notes so people can know and, show up however will use people. I will tell you that if you don't accept Temple Beth Shalom's offer to work Christmas and bring food, you will be missing some of the best meals you've ever had in your life.
I've already talked to Malcolm, so
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Oh, that's all. I tell you, brisket is nothing that they always work Christmas week, and that's just incredible. And everyone looked forward to it. There were things like that you knew were coming, and the guests knew it, and so did all the staff people. So, what else do you want people to know about the new kind of protocols and the new way of running things?
I think I just want to encourage people to reach out to me, to have a conversation. If you have questions, there isn't anything that I can say or do that's necessarily going to make someone who's not feeling good about this. There isn't anything that I can say that's going to make anyone feel better. And I understand that. But I do want to hear what people's experience has been, so I can continue, and Robert and I can continue to incorporate the experience, the experience of the community of Santa Fe into what Urban Alchemy is trying to accomplish here. So, and then I'll just finish with one of our phrases that we say: "We can show you better than we can tell you." So we hope that that over the coming months that you'll see the impact that we're able to accomplish.
It's exciting. That is actually the rule of journalism: show, don't tell. And on that note, this has been another Conversations Different. We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening to Conversations Different, hosted by me, Inez Russell Gomez, editorial page editor for the Santa Fe New Mexican. Our weekly episodes would not be possible without your support. We hope you enjoy them and keep listening. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Consider signing up for our newsletter so you never miss an episode, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the Santa Fe New Mexican. Our podcast is available by visiting our website, santafenewmexican.com/podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Conversations Different with Inez Russell Gomez is produced by Matt Dalside and Ernesto Cisneros, published by the Santa Fe New Mexican, a local and independent newspaper owned by Robin Martin.